Scrimmage with Daniel Hargrove and Justin Domashevitz.
I like it.
Yeah? Yeah, did you like the Aberdeen, how they do their showmanship at the beginning of the football games?
With the Purge thing?
Where they play the like Hell's Bells dong for like 10 hours?
I actually think you nailed it. I think it's a cool intro. I think it just drags on.
Way too long, right?
If you did it for about a quarter of the amount of time that they do it.
Yeah.
And then you go, I feel like it would be perfect.
Exactly.
But it is kind of a cool.
Exactly, and then the Purge siren mixes in.
They burst through the banner.
Yeah. Montesano and Hoquiam approached that two very different ways. Obviously, I think we know why, because they're coming at two very different sides, talent-wise, to the matchup. Mm-hmm. Hoquiam was like, we're not going to react to anything. We're not going to get involved. We're going to warm up at Olympic Stadium and show up like a half hour before game time. And then when the whole siren thing was going on, Hoquiam was just looking at the flag waiting for the anthem. They burst through the thing, and they were just looking at the flag waiting for the anthem. And I was like,
let's not give them any attention whatsoever.
Exactly.
Let's not reward this attention-seeking behavior of these bobcats.
Yeah. And then Monty's version was, hey, they started their music. Let's burst onto the field now, getting all jacked up. And I was like, oh, I like that better.
This is The Scrimmage. I'm Justin Domashevitz. Daniel Hargrove here with me, as well as producer Andrew and Pax, who's like he's like a consultant. Is that what we'd call him?
Mascot
/ consultant.
Therapy
dog. Wait a minute. I don't need therapy.
Yeah, I'm going to say.
That's because you have a therapy dog with you.
Good point. I also have therapy dogs at home.
That's true.
Yeah. I laid with my dog in the hammock for a while yesterday. That was nice. When I say a while, I mean like 10 minutes, because you never have more than 10 minutes at a time these days. That's all. Anyway, we got a lot of good stuff to talk about. The biggest thing I think we're excited to talk about is high school sports. We had not only week 2 of football, but also some soccer and volleyball started up this week, and we have some of that in the recap, and we'll have a goals update. We're not going to talk Mariners today, except in Stump Daniel.
Okay.
Because I'm angry.
I'm upset.
But we do have...
George is getting upset!
Some football-related things in what's coming up right now, which is the 2-minute drill. So let's go.
Huddle up! Gotta hurry. Hey, 2-minute situation. 44 seconds, hand the ball to the ref. Gonna do it right. 3 jet Buckeye on 1.
The 2-minute drill starts now.
The current AP college football ranking has 8 Pac-12 teams in the top 25. Actually, the top 24, technically.
There are only 2 Pac-12 teams.
The current Pac-12, not the future Pac-12.
There are only 2 current Pac-12 teams.
Daniel, the 8 teams from the Pac-12, the SEC has just 5.
What?
Ready? Go.
Are you freaking kidding me? And yet everybody's leaving. This is just a bunch of crap. And it's like I've said for how long now? The SEC is basically 5 teams, and then it's just a bunch of doo-doo pants after that. Oh yeah, quality SEC victory over Vanderbilt. Woo, doggy! Meanwhile, this year the Pac-12's literally going to beat the snot out of each other, and there's going to be nobody in the college football playoff from the Pac-12, and everybody's going to be like, yep, Pac-12, this is why they're being disintegrated. Nobody can even make the college football playoff. Meanwhile, there's going to be like 4 teams better than the top 2 or the other 2 in there that are just sitting there.
And then Georgia's going to win the national title.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. USC quarterback. Thank you, by the way, for just giving me that space.
Happy to help.
USC quarterback Caleb Williams and his father both have hinted that the presumptive top pick may stay in college for his senior season instead of going to the NFL. I think Brock Hewitt should talk to him about this. Justin, would that be a wise decision?
I mean, obviously NIL has kind of changed the game here. And ultimately, it's him trying to figure out what his best landing spot is, because if he does go as the number 1 overall pick, his first contract is going to be guaranteed like $40 million.
Yeah.
And that's way more than he's going to get in NIL if he's in college.
Yep.
So he would benefit financially more from a jump to the NFL if he's very confident he'll be the number 1 pick.
Right.
But also, it's very clear he does not want to play for the Cardinals. Like that. Hey, there's a team that's really bad out there. They're picked 2 games lower than everyone else by Vegas because they want me for some reason, even though they already have a number 1 overall picked quarterback that's signed to a long extension.
Yep. Well, couldn't he do the Eli Manning?
He
Have
can.
you seen the Eli Manning since Eli Manning?
No, I don't think so.
Well, people talked about it with Burrow, like it was a real consideration. He didn't do it. I think it looks bad.
He just
And
got paid.
yeah, I do. I think it would be a wise decision if they're trying to find the right landing spot. But if what they're actually trying to do is raise the floor of what he can make, if he thinks he's going to be the number 1 pick, just go to the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks lost to the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday, managing just 3 yards of offense in the second half. Not a typo. 3 yards of offense in the second half. Daniel, should Geno Smith be benched?
I know I didn't get to pay the best attention to this game, but I think there was maybe one play where I watched it and I was like, that's on Geno. Everything else felt like everything was just crumbling around him. I'm not sure what Geno could have done besides throw it to Jake Bobo on that trick play as he was running wide open down the field, but I think they ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive anyway, so, I mean, it didn't
Is
really
Jake
matter.
Bobo related to Sonny Bobo
I don't know.
from Sonny and Cher?
What about Mooney Bobo?
I don't think so.
DK Metcalf got on camera being a giant tool. Justin, what should be done about it internally?
Well, this is a situation that having somebody like Bobby Wagner back on your roster will help, because he's a veteran leader who knows the appropriate way to behave and conduct himself, but also doesn't pull punches when he's talking to anybody.
Yeah.
But ultimately, it's DK.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
I legitimately thought you were done.
Ultimately, like, the big thing you need to do is just accept that this kind of stuff's going to happen every once in a while. Like, DK does a pretty good job most of the time
Does he, though?
of containing himself from doing something really douchey.
As I
But-
was saying earlier, when compared to other diva wide receivers.
And I think that is a fair comparison, because as Andrew pointed out, this was nobody knows this except us, because this was before the show started. People that are as freakishly physically talented as DK tend to have a very diva-like way about them. And he's less douchey than many of those guys. I'm not sure if that's the standard you want to generally hold your
Right?
players to.
Exactly.
But I think it will be better for everyone if we just kind of come to grips with the fact that we just have to understand that, like, DK is going to do this kind of crap every once in a while. And it's going to be okay. As long as it doesn't become a constant thing, like every week he's doing something like this and causing disruptions, then I think it's going to be fine.
Also, as long as he keeps on, like, trying to do better.
Dude,
even if we don't see if even if it still happens occasionally, if he's saying the right things
Like,
and he's like, yeah, I'm
okay.
really sorry.
Okay,
then that's different to me than when you are just going off the deep end. You're
So-
like, yeah, what of it?
We've seen a couple of instances with DK where you're like, dude, stop. But 2 of them, this being one of them, is worse than the others. He learned from the first one where he jogged and got caught from behind. Remember, and fumbled?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That was horrible. This one is, to me, worse than any other time he's gotten into fights with people. He flat out cheap shotted someone from behind who wasn't looking.
He was a playground bully.
That's not playground bully. That's a punk.
Yeah.
That is a giant punk move.
because you're losing.
Yeah.
Like they were losing.
And you hit somebody from behind. What? You're not man enough to wait till he turns around, DK? Or actually loop around in front of him and hit him?
It was kind of from the side.
If you're being generous, it was from the side. Either way, he wasn't looking. And it wasn't a part of the play. Like, that was such a punk
when
move.
the other guy's not looking is definitively the best time to hit them.
Technically.
Just saying.
That is true, technically. But also,
I don't know, man. I didn't like it. That was
I
a
agree with
giant punk move.
I think if he keeps doing things like he did on that touchdown, where he broke not only the ankles but the sole of the cornerback, by like that guy was so afraid of DK on a slant that he sold out on the slant, and then DK beat him so badly to the fade that he didn't even try to get back over there. Gino's touchdown pass to DK was the easiest touchdown pass I've ever seen from anyone to anyone in my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that was just a one-on-one. Like that was not a scheme thing where he ended up wide open. He created that by himself.
Exactly.
So keep doing that, and then you can be a punk every once in a while, and it's okay.
I don't like it. I don't think you should be able to be a punk every once in a while. Like you can be a hothead every once in a while.
Okay.
Those are two completely different things. When he's getting into a match with Ramsey and gets a couple of personal foul calls,
he went up notches for me that day.
Exactly. Yeah. That's gonna happen if he loses his temper and does stuff like that. You can do that every now and then if you're going to toast people. You can't hit people from behind when they're not looking.
It reminded me a little bit of what
that's
the
garbage.
Thing that we didn't like about Michael Bennett, and I like Michael Bennett at generally speaking.
But even Michael Bennett didn't do it to people's back.
Fair, but
like,
it was
come on!
It was the same kind of petty. Like, I'm losing and I'm angry and I'm acting out kind of thing.
Yeah, but give somebody a chance to defend themselves. Especially when you're the size that DK Metcalf is. Instead, he goes up to a smaller player and doesn't even give him a shot. Like, I'm sorry. If you want to blow me up because I'm beating you, fine. I'll take the 15 yards. If you do it when I'm not looking and now you just threw my neck out and I'm going to be in and out of the IR all year because I couldn't even brace for it, no, that should not be allowed. If I would suspend him.
Okay,
I would suspend him.
Actually, that might be good because I sort of want the Seahawks to just tank now. Like, if their tackles are both out for again, this is an off-mic conversation we had earlier. If their tackles are both out, let's just tank.
Yeah.
Trade Tyler Lockett, see what you can get for him, build something more for the future. You've had 2 or 3 pretty solid drafts in a row.
Right.
So you got a ton of young talent there. If there's anything you can get for Jamal Adams, who I sort of forgot existed until earlier today.
Right.
If there's anything you can get for Tyler Lockett that's valuable, do it. Just tank. It's fine.
So Pete Carroll did say that, I don't remember which was which, but one of the tackles had a sprained toe and the X-ray didn't look bad.
Okay.
So
that would have been Abraham.
I thought Abraham had the knee, but the other one
did
not injure his knee. He has a knee that has been troubling him. They were resting him in preseason because of that knee, and in the second half it was acting up and he couldn't drive off of it, and so they took him out.
So Charles Cross is the one who went off on a cart.
Yeah,
was that the toe?
That must have been the toe.
That's
okay.
the toe, yeah.
Well, that's promising if it sounds like it's not that bad.
Agreed.
And I heard that just before you
I
guys
might
came
still
in.
consider tanking.
So seriously, is it just because they're wearing pads? Is that why we initially don't think, oh, that's garbage when you go up and hit somebody from behind?
No, it was garbage. It totally was
imagine
garbage.
Seeing that in any other sport where you're not wearing pads.
From the side.
Either way, if he's not looking.
Yeah.
So here's...
It was a punk move. I'm not going to argue that. It was a punk move.
The reason it is somewhat better because it was before the whistle is that you also are supposed to be looking.
You're supposed to be looking behind you?
He had just been engaged with him.
No, what? Dude, the play's on the opposite side of the field. Let me watch this again. No, he's never engaged with him. Watch the video. Here's the video right there. He's never engaged with him. They're just jogging off to the other side of the field, and DK comes back and hits him for no reason.
I'm talking about before that part, though. Wasn't
that was
he covering him?
Dude, I don't know.
They may have possibly been engaged, but I've only seen the part of it when they're not.
I was assuming that he was covering him during the play, and the play was still going on. And so I'm not saying it's okay. It's still a punk move.
I mean, it sounds like you're saying
I'm
it's okay.
explaining why it's not why he shouldn't be suspended for it. That's what I'm.
I also would not suspend him unless I wanted to tank.
Yeah,
because he's good.
Okay, same exact
Look,
thing.
I would bench a dude. As a coach, I would bench a dude for that.
Okay.
Like I'd sit him down and be like, no, you don't get to do that. But I don't think that it's because it's during the play, and it probably should have been a 15-yard penalty. but I don't think that is like you're not so far beyond the pale. It's not a second after the whistle blows. It's not hitting somebody with a helmet.
So that guy jogging over
he didn't quite get in front of him.
So that guy jogging over to a tackle being made on the opposite side of the field is supposed to be like, wait, DK's behind me. I better be looking at him.
I would.
That's dumb.
I wouldn't take my eyes off DK.
The thing you could tell me is that he should be sprinting over to the ball. But if you want him to be turned around when the play's on the other side of the field, that's dumb. Like, legitimately stupid. Because why would you look at somebody without the ball behind you when the play's on the other side of the field being wrapped up?
That was rude.
It doesn't make sense. Like, why? And having the small amount of football that I've played, there's no way I'm going to be like, oh, there's a receiver by me. That guy's getting tackled across the field. I better turn around because this guy might hit me.
I think the only point that Andrew was trying to make is that it might be beneficial to have enough self-awareness to know that, like, there's a really frustrated, like, gigantic Thor-like man.
My assumption is that he made sure to turn his shoulder subtly away from DK at the last second and made it look worse on purpose. Because that's what I would do.
I agree that you would do that.
See, I would think that there's another adult behind me playing this sport. I probably shouldn't assume that he's going to be an idiot.
In the NFL?
I mean, they are adults, aren't they?
Barely. And only if you are only looking at the age, Daniel.
Okay.
I mean, many of them
you got a good point there.
Many of them have grown up in a bubble where everyone treats them like they're the greatest thing in the world for their whole lives.
Yeah, that's true.
So Francis says to compare that to Watkins' end zone hit on the Monty receiver, devil's advocot.
No comparison. That was a clean football play.
The question is Courtney a cheap shot artist like her brother, or does Anchor have a chance at not being called A.H. Metcalf in high school?
In case anyone doesn't know, Courtney is Daniel's wife, who is also Andrew's sister.
Yeah.
So, just so there's some added context for people, that was a shot.
I don't think Courtney is a cheap shot artist, but also I would like
to
point out I am not a cheap shot artist.
Yeah,
I am an artist at taking cheap shots.
Exactly. Yes.
Daniel,
it's much more infuriating.
Daniel, the week that you were gone,
yeah,
I sat in that seat, and I played with that blitzball the entire show. Andrew, remember?
Yeah,
I did. I was holding it up when I was making my points and twirling it around in my fingers.
That's why it's there. It's
like a fidget spinner.
Like,
visual aid.
I feel like my take has gone a little too strong on this, but then
the strongest part was when you said Andrew was stupid.
I'm sorry. Maybe that's why I feel like maybe that's why I feel bad. But to me, I don't get like why I don't understand why people aren't more upset about this. Like at first, it was
a punk move, but it wasn't the punkest move I've ever seen.
And again, is that just because they're playing a sport where people get?
Yes,
where it is a violent
part of
sport.
The sport is hitting each other as hard as you can, and the whistle had not blown.
So okay, UFC fighter.
If I were the other guy's teammate, I'd be ripping him a new one for jogging before the whistle was over. I'd be like, "What the heck are you doing?"
Because he should have been sprinting across the field.
The play's still on. I don't care even if you don't think you can get there. You still have to be aware that the play is still going on. The whistle hasn't blown.
Yeah, I understand that, but it never happens. And usually you don't get drilled from behind.
Clarence says deep breaths, Daniel.
Thank you, Clarence.
Usually you don't get drilled from behind.
Usually.
Let's move on to my favorite part of the show. Serving questions up on a silver platter where the points are made up and the rules don't matter. Time for Stump Daniel. Stump Daniel is brought to you by the law office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz, no relation.
What's the A stand for?
And Daniel, this week we're going to play one of my favorite games.
Ooh.
It's called Name That Mariner.
Ooh, it's been a while.
But we're going to do this a little bit differently than we've done it in the past.
Okay.
So typically, I'll have like 6 hints or clues.
Okay.
And I'll give you 3. I'll give you a guess. I'll give you another one. I give you a guess. I give you another one. You get several guesses.
Right.
This time...
Is this segment brought to you also by Hum Kombucha?
Nope. But that would be cool if it was.
Just throw that out there.
Daniel,
I'm
going to give you...
a kombucha sponsor. I'll be honest.
3 facts about this player, and you get one guess.
Are these true facts about the mantis shrimp? Sorry, just the way you said 3 facts reminded me. Did you ever watch those YouTube videos? The guy who would impersonate Morgan Freeman's voice, and he would just say random crazy facts about like these different crazy animals.
In my entire life, I've never met someone who went down so many YouTube rabbit holes as you have.
That's a good point.
So, no, I have not seen those videos.
I'm going to force you to watch them before we leave.
If you're in the comments,
watching.
if anybody's watching the video right now live, please tell us whether or not you've seen the videos Daniel just referenced.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
True facts about the mantis shrimp.
Andrew, have you seen them?
Yeah. Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. Well, I guess I'm outvoted. Oh, wait, Hannah's seen them too?
That the koalas have not
they don't
not
have
evolved the thinky bits.
Yes. It's good stuff.
Sounds very official.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
It's so good.
Daniel, 3 facts about this Mariner brought to you by the law office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz.
What's the A stand for?
No relation.
Okay.
Daniel, this Mariner led the Mariners in hits in 2021. So 2 seasons ago, he led them in hits in 2021. This Mariner currently leads this year's team in on-base percentage. This Mariner has hit as many home runs this season as he did in the last 2 seasons combined. And this season's not over yet. Daniel, you get one guess. I want you to think about it. Take us through your thought process. I think you know the answer.
I just spilled on myself, so I'm a little extra rattled, apparently.
I think you know the answer. I see it in your eyes that I think you know the answer.
I mean, I'm going to be really surprised if it's not who I think it is.
Currently
I will
leads the
riot
team.
If it's not who I think it is.
Currently leads the team in on-base percentage. Led the team in hits 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And has hit as many home runs this season as he did the last 2 seasons combined. Which is actually the stat. I heard it on the Dan Patrick show. That's the stat that got me here.
Yeah.
Is I was like, I'm going to find a couple more things about this guy because that's cool.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like J.P. Crawford.
That's correct.
Yeah.
It is J.P. Crawford.
Darn
So
straight.
Oh, that pregnant pause had me worried there for a bit.
this is an abbreviated version of Stump Daniel, but I just really loved that stat when I heard it.
Do you know why?
JP has 15 home runs this season. Last year he had 6, and in 2021 he had 9. And I thought, like, I don't remember him missing a ton of time. I went back and looked. He's played at least 145 games every season.
Yeah.
He's just, his power numbers are just way up. Andrew, did you say you know why?
Yes, Driveline. Literally, Driveline Sports, the company that does all that. They work with Ohtani, a bunch of other people, but he spent a ton of time there, and they helped him do what they redesigned his swing. Apparently.
So he's hitting home runs at a pace he's never hit them before, yet he also leads the team in on-base percentage.
Yeah, he's
and he's maybe second on the team in, like, overall coolness.
He's
second.
He's
to,
right up there.
Well, Julio.
Just
Julio-
pure coolness.
Yeah.
Julio, I hear that there's something about his eyes.
Yeah, that's a good point. Intoxicating.
I'm actually looking into them right now.
No.
On the side of this Julio's box. If you're in the audio-only audience, I'm sorry. Andrew has a cereal called Julio's.
Julio.
It actually looks kind of gross, and I don't want to eat it. But
is.
it has Julio's face on the side, and he is dreamy.
Justin, yesterday morning, I found a YouTube playlist of Saturday morning cartoons, including the ads, and I just watched that and ate Julio's, and it was amazing.
Nice. That's a good call. Well, that's going to conclude this edition of Stump Daniel, which is brought to you by the law office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz.
The only thing that would have made that better is if you had a box of chocolate frosted sugar bombs.
Well, Julio's was the closest I could get,
Yeah.
and I saw a commercial for a Flintstones commercial for
Fruity Pebbles?
no Choco Pebble something.
yeah.
I don't remember what it was
Cocoa
called.
Pebbles?
Cocoa Pebbles. Yes.
There you go.
I just gave you Fruity Pebbles. How did you not get to Cocoa Pebbles from there? Come on, man. We may have broken a record for
man.
land speed through the first segment.
Yeah.
Because we have a lot of local sports to talk about. I'm going to be honest. I didn't put Mariners in here, and I didn't want to dwell on much of this stuff.
It was
because
a
I'm
rough
so excited
road
to talk
series.
about what we have in local sports this week.
I'm sorry. There's a kitten at least one kitten cuddling with a giant dog over there, and it's really cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. But
Welcome
be
to my
careful
life,
because
Daniel.
last time they did that, I tried to go take a picture, and Pax got excited that I walked over there, and so he stood up, and then the kitten ran away, and then it was all ruined.
Right.
Pax was like, "A person? Will you pet me?"
Meanwhile, the cat was like, "A person run away!"
Yeah. No, the cat was very indifferent about my presence, but also was annoyed by it
Yeah.
simultaneously.
Yep.
Which also is the reaction most people have towards me. So we have a lot of high school sports to talk about. Hannah's nodding her head over there. A lot of high school sports to talk about. We're going to do a full roundup. Daniel and I were at the Monte-Aberdeen football game, and we're going to talk about that quite a bit. We have a goals update, and we have the very difficult task of naming an athlete of the week from some very deserving candidates. So before we do that, let's take a quick commercial break. Do you have a legal situation and need someone on your side? Let the law office of Jeffrey A. Damashevitz be your advocate. If you've been the victim of medical malpractice, suffered a personal injury, or need representation with real estate law, small business law, or estate planning, let Jeff Damashevitz put his 29 years of experience to work for you. Call Jeff Damashevitz today at 360-612-3991 or visit damashevitzlaw.com. That's DAMASIEWICZLAW.com.
Sorry,
Daniel and I are just doing stomp over here.
Could you pick up me tapping the blitz ball?
Definitely.
That started Justin on that. I apologize.
No, it was good.
I was also at Loggers Playday. Should we maybe one of the athlete of the weeks is in that?
Oh, do we?
In
There's a
Loggers
dude
Playday?
he straight up ran up the pole, man. This one
That's
guy.
crazy.
Was a ball involved?
No.
So it's
Well,
not,
it's not a sport.
If there's no ball or ball equivalent, like a ball or a puck.
Dude, we've talked about
Or
powerlifting
is a frisbee
on this show.
Powerlifting is
Not a sport.
Competitive.
preparation for sport?
No, like it's a competitive activity. I'm not going to call it a sport.
What about track and field?
Oh my gosh,
Shot put and discus and javelin
guys,
are
guys.
sports.
guys. The what is a sport conversation is for off season.
Right.
We're in season
Right,
now.
sorry, my bad.
We have actual
But I love it
things
though.
to
And
talk about.
I think we solved it last time we talked about it.
I can't remember,
Yeah.
but I'm sure we did.
Yeah. If there's a problem,
the fireworks
I'll solve
show
it. Check
was
out the hook
awesome.
while my DJ revolves it. Ice, baby.
Gosh darn it.
Daniel was like, "Where is he going
Where are
with
you
this?"
going with this? Oh, golly gee, Batman. All right. Is it time?
Let's do it.
All right.
I'll read the first one.
The local sports roundup.
Led by an all-around great performance by senior quarterback Jackson Wilson, Montesano
Gee, I wonder why he read the first one.
Montesano took down Aberdeen 38-7 on Friday at Stewart Field. Wilson passed for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns, both to Mason Rasmussen. That's a name we're going to talk about later.
Oh, yeah.
Wilson rushed for 54 yards and another score and intercepted 2 passes on defense.
Dose.
Rasmussen had a breakout performance with 7 catches for 184 yards, including an explosive 80-yard catch and run and a 59-yard bomb in the second quarter. Both went for touchdowns. Gabe Bodwell led the Bulldogs in rushing with 61 yards and 2 tutties. Peyton Damashevitz led Monty's defense with 2 sacks.
No relation.
Aberdeen's Aiden Watkins led all rushers with 84 yards on the ground. Adonis Hammonds scored the Bobcats' lone touchdown on a 27-yard pass from Grady Springer. Both teams will be back in action on Friday. Montesano will make the long trip to Columbia White Salmon, which you have to go into Oregon and then come back into Washington to get there. It's weird. And Aberdeen will travel to Centralia to hopefully beat the lowly Tigers.
Yes. Student sections from that game also on point. Sticking with
We're going to talk
football.
about that too.
Good. Sticking with football. PL Willapa Valley improved to 2-0 with a hard-fought 22-20 win over a tough Adna squad on Friday in Menlo.
Krogstad Field. I like that place.
It's a good spot. The Titans scored all 22 of their points after halftime. Tyson Portman led PWV with 98 rushing yards. That's the opposite of the Seahawks. Cody Strozik scored 2 rushing touchdowns, and Nate Fluke added another score as he juked his way on the ground.
A fluke juke?
A fluke juke. The Titans will be back in action on Friday in Wakayakum.
Speaking of Wakayakum, another Pacific County football team picked up a win on Friday. Raymond South Bend bounced back from a Week 1 loss with an explosive 62 to 29 win over the aforementioned Wakayakum. Farrell Johnson recorded his second straight stellar performance for the Ravens with 169 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on just 12 carries.
He's good.
Robbie Stegall also had just 12 carries and racked up 136 yards and 2 scores for RSB. Austin Snodgrass threw just 3 passes, but completed all of them for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Nice.
One to Christopher Quintana and one to Isaac Schluter. And if I got that wrong and someone knows, please let me know, because it was spelled 2 different ways in the article. So I went with the one
In the
that's...
same article?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So Snodgrass also scored once on the ground as well. Snodgrass, excellent. Farrell Johnson, really good 2 weeks in a row. He rushed for over 200 yards in Week 1.
Yep.
RSB will host Ilwaco on Friday.
Hoquiam's football team notched its first win of the season on the road at Fort Vancouver.
The Crappers.
Yeah. On Friday, Xander Jump led the Grizzlies on both sides of the ball with 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, and a pick 6. No further details were available at the time of this podcast, except for Xander just dominated.
Yeah.
Hoquiam will host LaSalle on Friday.
We could just call that one the Xander Jump Show.
Yes.
Elma's football team fell to Cascade Christian on the road on Saturday, 40-20. The Eagles scored. What's wrong with me today? The Eagles scored all 20. Is it just today, or do I do this a lot?
I think it's worse today.
Okay. The Eagles scored all 20 of their points in the fourth quarter. Carter Studer connected with Isaac McGaffey for 2 touchdowns and Dayton Brooks for a third. McGaffey... Brookins, thank you.
There you go.
McGaffey, just a sophomore, caught 5 passes for 230 yards in the game.
Wait, what?
Yeah, that's like 46 yards a catch.
Holy smokes.
Accounting for all but 56 of Studer's 286 passing yards.
What?
Elma will host Castle Rock on Friday. Do you remember after the Jambo when I said there was a sophomore? The Jamboree. Do you remember when I told you there was a sophomore from Elma who stood out athletically and he didn't make a lot of plays, but when I watched him, I was like, dang, that kid's an athlete?
Yeah.
Isaac McGaffey.
Ah, good to know. From the... No, I can't bring myself
The Jambo.
Nope. Moving to girls soccer, Elma opened its season with a 4-0 home win over Adna on Tuesday. Not surprised to see no score on there. Betta Valentine scored a hat trick for the Eagles and assisted on the other goal. That's quality, which was scored by Miley Seaberg. Another Seaberg. Elma improved to 2-0.
A lot of Seabergs running around in Elma.
The season with a 5-0 win over Centralia on Thursday. Valerie Echeverria scored a hat trick for the Eagles and assisted on the other 2 goals, both scored by Valentine.
It's going to be a really fun season for soccer in East County because Montesano and Elma both have really solid squads. Elma is the reigning district champion, and I'm really excited to see what will happen with those teams moving forward. Speaking of Montesano, they continued their impressive start to the soccer season with a 4-1 win at Kingsway Christian on Thursday. Ada Potts scored 2 goals for the Bulldogs. Michaela Stanfield and Jalen Butterfield added a goal apiece. The Bulldogs played Seattle Academy to a 1-1 tie on Saturday and came away with the dub after winning penalty kicks 4-2. Potts scored the goal in regulation and one of the OT PKs. She's having a heck of a season so far.
In volleyball, Hoquiam opened its season with a 3-1 win over Toledo on Tuesday at Hoquiam Square Garden. Caitlin Broadhead recorded 33 assists, 12 digs, and 4 aces for the Grizzlies. Leanne Bratt led Hoquiam with 14 kills. That's not nice. Hoquiam.
Not literal murder.
Okay.
It's when they spike the volleyball really hard and they score a point.
I know that's what it's called, but I feel like you're going to get a really crazy nickname if you get a lot of kills after a while. Hoquiam hosted Rochester on Wednesday and came away with a 3-0 win.
Is that after Tuesday?
It is.
Okay.
Broadhead had 23 assists and 12 digs. Lexi LaBounty went 15 for 15 in service and had 18 digs.
Aberdeen opened its volleyball season with a 3-0 win over Elma in Aberdeen on Wednesday. Lily Camp, that's a name we know, led the Bobcats with 12 kills, so that's a lot of kills too, and she's not a murderer. We're just talking about spiking a volleyball.
Ace.
Cameron Michaud had a team best 24 assists for Aberdeen in that one, and the Bobcats continued their success on Thursday with a hard-fought and well-earned 3-2 win over Tenino. Annika Hollingsworth led the Cats with 20 kills. Camp and Savannah Strickland added 13 kills each. And that will conclude the local sports roundup. I do have a goals update.
Yes.
Which I'm going to give you. I got a message from Coach Daniel.
Okay.
That I loved so much that I'm mostly just going to read it.
I think he's watching. If he has the Grays Harbor Goals FC Academy as his...
It's possible. That's either
YouTube
Coach Daniel or
channel,
Coach Eddie. I'm not sure which one.
Well, he says you guys rock.
Yes.
Thank you.
I think he's probably talking about you two.
In my experience, I would say he's talking about Daniel and Andrew. Because people don't usually say nice things like that about me.
Yeah, but I would assume he's talking about you since you're the one who actually puts together all the information about their stuff.
You know, people only know that because you say it all the time.
Oh. Maybe I should stop saying that and take some credit.
Yeah, do it. That's what I would do.
Like you took credit for your son's sack last week?
Yeah. I did also. I told...
Did you force an interception this week?
Quick sidebar. I didn't
How quick?
force the interception. I'm taking half an interception. So Peyton had a play where he rushed the quarterback, and he rushed him so hard that the quarterback floated a pass up, and then Gabriel Pahala got the interception.
Yeah.
And so I talked to Peyton, and I was like, hey, you should take credit for half the interception, like publicly.
Right.
Just do it.
Yeah.
That's what I would do.
I got
And he said,
pick on that.
no, Dad, I'm not going to do that. I pressured the quarterback. I did my job. Gabe got the pick. Like, what do you want me to do?
Yeah.
So I went up to Gabe's
got
dad.
a pressure.
I didn't go up to Gabe because Gabe's pretty tough.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be like, Gabe, I'm going to take half your interception away.
Right.
So I went up to Gabe's dad, and I was like, I just want you to know that publicly I'm going to take half of your son's interception. Because
Right.
Peyton didn't want it. So it's like you find a penny on the ground, you pick it up. There's a half an interception on the ground. I just picked it up. I'm taking it. It's mine now.
Just scooped it. Except for, I'm pretty sure that was still in Paula's pocket. So you're not picking up a penny. You're just stealing it from somebody.
Don't tell Gabe I said that. Because, as I mentioned, he's actually pretty tough.
I'm going to tell him personally.
Dang it. So I have some goals updated info, and
Okay.
I'm very happy to get this. So their boys U10 team lost their opener 3-0 in a match against. This is a cool team name.
It might be too late.
Why?
Gabe might be watching.
I was going to say, I hope Gabe's watching.
There's
right
multiple Gabes. Which one is it? Okay.
Pahala?
Oh no.
now. Yeah, okay, so it's Pahala? You're pronouncing... How did we... I think I said
guess.
Pihala.
I mean Pahala.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure he'll tell us.
I think
Yeah.
actually probably technically Pihala is probably right.
But you were
But
just...
I've known Gabe since he was knee high to a grasshopper, and we've always said it as Pahala, but it could just be because I'm lazy.
Gotcha.
So I don't want to. But the team calls him Pie, which if you noticed at one point, Daniel, this is another sidetrack. During the game, there was a time that the punt team came on the field.
Right.
That was because when
Yeah, what the heck was that about,
that
actually?
was because
It was third down.
when the regular fullback, another Gabe, Bodwell, ran off the field,
Everybody just assumed-
somebody yelled pie to get the backup fullback, which is Gabriel Pahala, on the field.
Yeah.
And several of the guys thought they were saying punt. So the punt team ran onto the field. And needless to say, Coach Jensen was annoyed that they didn't know it was third down.
Yeah.
So
I was like, are they going to do a quick kick? What's
no,
going on?
That was a pie punt, the classic pie punt scenario. You just mix up pie and punt. It happens all the time.
Now I want to have an offensive system that just has a whole book of plays for the punt team to play on third down just to mess with people.
Well, for the most part, in Monty, the punt team is the offense, except for I think one person that switches in.
And also the offense is the defense.
Yeah, for the most part. I think there's
a few kids who don't start both ways.
There's 3 starters. There's 3 offensive starters, all on the offensive line, and then there's 3 kids on defense who don't start on offense. And
so back to the goals update, which I have now sidetracked from twice, and I apologize. I was just going to say the team that the boys U10 league team lost to had a really cool name. It's Liverpool FC International Academy.
Are they from England?
Yeah, are they from England?
Liverpool, England, or
no
Liverpool
idea,
somewhere
but
else?
that's the name of their team.
Neat.
They lost 3-0, but Coach Daniel said they played hard and had some great moments, which is always what you want out of a loss, that you have some way that you can not only build on what you did during that game, but also have some teachable moments moving forward that you can learn from it. The U14 girls team lost their away opener 3-1 in a tense match where the girls held much of possession but conceded to a great goal and a deflection. Anna scored the sole goal for the goals in that one, and then shortly after the half it became 2-1 through an unlucky deflection, and the match ended 3-1, but the girls played great. And I think because this is their first match in a 10-game season, they have a lot to build on going forward. So now this is where we get to the point where Coach Daniel sent me a long recap of the boys U15 team.
Okay.
It's good.
All right.
So I'm going to read it and give him full credit. So the boys U15 team we've talked about a lot.
Yep.
They played their 4th match in a 10-game regular season. They were playing versus, I'm going to say Nortrack. It's all in capitals, so it could be some kind of acronym. I don't know. But Nortrack, Sparta, Tacoma. And there was a tense match. It went back and forth with Sparta hitting often on the counter and the goals controlling possession in their half and the middle. The defense and Mauricio, who is the goalie we've talked about a lot, were tested often early on, but stayed calm and composed, which is something they've... Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you.
Nortac.
Yeah,
Staying
Nortac.
calm and composed when they're attacked is something that they have been working on to improve early in matches, and the game was 0-0 or 0-0 at half. While still 0-0, an incident occurred, resulting in both teams going down to 10 players on the field.
Was it a DK Metcalf type
I
incident?
have no further information, but I'm guessing we don't need to know.
Okay.
The match continued but it is important that there's 10 guys on the field for the rest of the story.
Okay.
So the match continued with less than 10 minutes and the bigger field with one player less. The game opened up. As I was reading this, I'm just going to say, I started to feel tension.
Dude,
as
yeah.
I was reading it. I was reading a story.
By the way, I closed my eyes for a minute there because I'm picturing
You can
this,
do it if you want to. There's
listening
more.
to a
There's
book.
more. So with one player less, the game opened up and both teams started attacking each other intensely. Not literally, but with soccer.
Oh, I thought you were going to say with swords.
No, not swords. No, not swords. No samurai
soccer
swords
ways.
out there. Yeah, they attacked each other in soccer ways. Okay. Michael Garcia broke through the middle on a ball over the top and beat 2 defenders.
Oh, yeah, he did.
Are you picturing it?
I'm picturing it.
The keeper rushed out and Michael managed to control and hold the ball up, now being pressed by 2 defenders and the keeper near him. As he turned and looked up, he saw Hebron near the top of the box.
Oh, yeah.
Who he played the ball back to. Hebron. There's a Gibron in Aberdeen football, and it confused me for a second.
Yep.
Hebron received the ball and took a shot, going underneath the keeper, who made the save, but it wasn't enough, as you're picturing the keeper making the save, right?
Right.
But it wasn't enough as the ball rolled over the line and into the net for a 1-0 lead.
Wow.
The goals saw out the remaining 5 minutes and had several more chances, with Michael creating and controlling the final moments and almost making it 2-0 on multiple occasions, and the keeper making great saves. That guy who almost stopped that ball that rolled over the line made more great saves.
Gotcha.
So they held on for the 1-0 win to take their record to the season to 3 wins and 1 loss. 7 goals scored, 7 assists. against. I'm so bad today.
Your words are not great.
What's wrong with me?
Read the words, Justin.
7 goals scored, 7 against.
I wish I have done, I wish that I have broadcasted soccer games, because I really feel like that story needs a play-by-play call of it. And I don't quite feel confident enough to just do it. I feel like if you would have read me that great of a description about a football play, I would have just jumped into a call of it.
Yeah.
But I'm just a little self-conscious enough now, knowing that Coach Daniel is also watching, that I don't want to try it and then embarrass myself.
Well, Hebron has 4 goals in 4 games in this Premier League they're playing against. That's Hebron Garcia, in case anyone doesn't know. JB Fabian has the other 3. Michael is the top assister for the goals right now with 3, and 3 other players on the rest of the assist list, Luis, Talon, and Yvonne. And I really like the way that Coach Daniel, he likes to put the players forward. He likes to make sure that they get recognition for what they did.
Right.
I think the other thing he pointed out, as I'm not going to continue reading word for word, but I want to just recap that, this league that they're playing in is a very high league.
Yep.
So, essentially this is a group of kids who have been identified as, you're too good to play in normal leagues.
Right.
We're going to put you in a league that's 4 leagues higher than the league that you're in. And then a bunch of these kids have also they've been playing on that surf team. They qualified for that surf team. So they're playing on an additionally higher team that could lead to bigger and better soccer things for them, or
Basically, football is life.
Football is life.
Yeah. Football
Danny
is life.
Rojas. So I think I want to really highlight the accomplishments of these kids, because this is some kids locally that we have who have been accomplishing something at a level that's above the level. There's a lot of sports that happen at a level. They've gone another level
above that level,
and now this is a league that they went into thinking okay, this league's really good.
Yeah.
Let's not be bad.
Right.
Let's hope if we go into this league and we're average, we did a good job.
Right.
They were currently, after that win, at the time, they were in first place, top of the league.
Jeez.
There was another result they were waiting on to see if they were going to get knocked back down to second, basically. Yeah. But
that's nuts.
After getting kicked in the mouth and having 5 goals scored on them in their first match in this new Premier League, those kids bounced back and they've won 3 in a row. And they're playing at a level that I'm not sure if even themselves or the people who are their biggest advocates would have known they were capable of.
Right.
And they've just achieved at such a high level. So I want to make sure that we continuously let those kids know that what you're doing is really cool. And we're proud that we get to talk about it.
Absolutely.
So congrats to the Grays Harbor Gulls. We did have a Man of the Match nomination for Athlete of the Week for Michael Garcia.
Okay.
And we will definitely be having more goals updates down the road. That was Michael's 3rd assist in 4 games.
Nice. Man, it's going to be hard. It's going to be weird because we're used to hearing those names with just silly numbers.
Yeah.
But now they're playing against really good competition.
Oh, hey, Michael scored 6 goals. And then it's week after week, we're all right. How seriously am I supposed to take that?
Yeah.
Were you playing against 11 garbage cans, or were there people on the field? But that's a good point, because now we know the numbers are going to kind of balance out to where they look like normal good numbers.
Exactly. Normal good numbers instead of ridiculous numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Against 11 garbage cans.
Again,
let's move on.
Maybe I'll start listening and watching some soccer calls, so if I get another description like that, I feel more comfortable just launching into it. But right now, all I'm picturing is just Ted Lasso parts, and I'm I probably shouldn't use that as my launching off point into soccer announcing.
I picture everything that I get from Coach Daniel as Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
I hope he takes that as a compliment, because I'm not saying you're a soccer dummy. I'm saying I picture Jason Sudeikis. When I read that, it was in Jason Sudeikis' voice. So that's a compliment.
I love it.
Well, he did say that he was all for Daniel doing play-by-play of
Like
soccer.
just winging that, or actually going to one of their games and
He
doing
said,
play-by-play?
"I'm for it." That's what he said.
I think I'm probably gonna say he's probably more willing for me to actually describe what I'm seeing on a field instead of describe what I'm hearing and then seeing in my imagination.
He says, "Confirmed. Ted Lasso is a great reference point."
Okay, good.
Okay,
I like
good.
it.
Okay,
I think one of these days we're gonna go watch these kids play in person.
I can't wait.
You should sell it on the radio. The radio station should sell some soccer games.
Well, whether
Ian's
we
done a couple.
whether it's broadcast or if we just go like watch it and cover it, I want to do it. But like every time they've had home matches, we've not been it's been scheduling conflicts, and we haven't been able to make it work. So, but that's going to happen.
Yep,
at some point.
Absolutely, and at least for a little bit. Like if I hold up a phone and record it and do play-by-play of like a 2-minute stretch,
we go live on
do
Facebook.
something. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah,
maybe
or
I'll do that.
YouTube's.
Yeah.
Coach Daniel says, "Actually, come out to a game. Youth games are free, but men's teams cost."
Right. I always forget about the men's team.
I have a media pass, so. Also, I've learned that pretty much if you walk anywhere confidently with a camera. So this is another funny story, and it's a sidetrack. Okay. So at Montesano, there's like a photography class, right? So the teacher there is Sean Donnelly, and he's great, and he goes to the games and takes a lot of pictures. But also, what happens is he encourages the kids in the class, like, "Hey, let me get you some equipment, and you can practice by coming and shooting the games."
That's
awesome.
super cool.
Yeah,
and
that's great.
There was one kid on the sidelines at one of the home games in Monty,
right?
And he was telling me like, "Man, I just had a camera and I just walked in. It was really cool. I've been down here on the field. Nobody even questioned me. Nobody looked twice." And I was like, "Dude, that's not just this field, man. Walk anywhere confidently with a camera." I've been in the White House when the Obamas were sleeping. Like, you can go anywhere you want to go. You walk confidently with a camera. And then this week, when we were in Aberdeen, that same kid came up to me, and he was like, "Man, you were right. I just walked through the gate. I had a camera in my hands, and nobody even said a word."
Yes, it's true. Even if you have a baby strapped to you. Like, Courtney walked into the state tournament like onto the floor with the camera at the basketball tournament a couple years ago, and she had a 6-month-old strapped to her chest.
That's quite a feat.
I feel like that might make people even less likely to mess with you, though.
That's a good point.
Well, what happened to you, Daniel, when you walked into the party yesterday with your baby?
Oh my gosh!
Did you hold your baby for the rest of the party?
I held my baby for about 30 seconds throughout the entire birthday party. Happy birthday to Deanna Domashevitz, by the way.
Yeah, that's my mother.
Huge impact on my life. Yeah. She's amazing. But yeah, I walked in, and your wife came up and said, "Hey, can I hold the..." She didn't even finish the sentence. And I didn't acknowledge the sentence yet, and my baby was out of my hands. Yeah. It was like, "Can I hold the..." Baby gone. And I was like, "Oh, you gonna finish that?"
I think so.
He was like, "Nope." And then, yeah, my baby was passed around a lot. I almost felt like a bad parent at one point, because I was like, I think I should probably hold my baby for at least some percentage of this thing.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's move on to
You
the
just
part
have to
of
hold the baby all of the rest of the time.
Yeah.
the part of the show that, Daniel, I know you and I have been looking forward to the most.
Yeah.
Definitely me. Probably also you. Let's recap this Montesano Aberdeen game in which Monty came out with a 38-7 victory, which I don't think any of us were surprised that Monty won.
Right.
There was a little bit of
was
surprise
shocked.
that at the margin of victory. Yeah, Andrew was the only one who picked against Monty in our weekly pick'em.
I was really hoping. Yeah. I will say that.
So I think I might have been did I have the closest pick?
I think so.
Or just the lowest scoring pick?
I think was it like 14-7
14-7,
Yeah.
right. So when I watched the game last year, and I should have remembered that there's a ton of players for Aberdeen last year who I really loved that no longer play there, so I probably should have kept that in mind. But what I remembered from last year was besides Bodie, Monty couldn't really do anything on offense.
It was basically 3 Bodie bombs that he just got over the top of the defenders, and then one weird wedge play that ended up with the quarterback bursting out the other side for a long touchdown.
Right.
Everything was explosive burst plays.
Right.
Not sustained offense.
Nothing was sustained.
Yeah.
Aberdeen's defense was really good.
Yeah.
I had just watched Aberdeen against Hoquiam, and I know Hoquiam's not expected to be good this year, but the speed on
Tell
their
that
back.
to the Fart Vancouver Crappers.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you're running with that.
I mean, potty humor. It's kind of my thing.
Yeah.
Fart Van Crappers for short.
Oh, I like it. Oh, next I'm gonna use
I don't want
that
to ride.
for,
I don't want to ride in the fart van.
Well, I was taking it
not
like
for me.
Not with
like
the
a
crappers.
Linden person, like the Van Crapper.
I like it. My name's Van Crapper. What's your first name? Fart. So you were talking about how this.
Aberdeen they have a lot of speed behind a lot of size.
Yeah.
And last year we saw their defense play really well for the most part, besides a bad matchup. And I was like, they're going to come into this game with a game plan to not just let people run by them.
That might have been the plan.
And that was definitely the plan.
Didn't work.
It was not executed, and maybe we should question the plan. I don't know, but I wouldn't leave receivers who are very talented single covered. I don't know. Not saying that was a huge part about this game, because Monty just did find a very consistent offense and sustained drives.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't just the big
And
plays.
multiple people pitching in.
Exactly. It wasn't just Bodie this time.
Yeah.
So I think that surprised me a little bit, that Aberdeen's defense couldn't handle Monty's offense better than they did. Mm-hmm. That surprised me. I think the biggest thing that I mentioned during the game also was one team is overcoming penalties and one team is getting killed by them.
Yeah.
And let's see, I had Aberdeen. I had them both. Well, Aberdeen I had for 9 penalties, and Monty I had for 8.
There was a point with Monty where I felt like the wheels were starting to come off.
Yeah.
And the penalties were mounting up and creating big problems. And then they scored an 80-yard touchdown on 3rd and 30.
Dude, 3rd and 30. That play.
So that is the microcosm of exactly what you're saying, which is that was a team that overcame their mistakes.
And you know why it was 3rd and 30 and not 4th and 20? Because Aberdeen committed a penalty. Because on the previous play, both teams both teams committed penalties on the previous play. And instead of it being Aberdeen declining the penalty, because then it would have been Aberdeen declining a holding and making them punt on 4th and 20.
Yeah.
Instead of that happening, it was replay the down at 3rd and 30, and Mason Rasmussen catches a stupid receiver screen.
We're going to talk about
and
Mason
runs
Rasmussen.
80 yards down the field on 3rd and 30 for a touchdown.
Real fast.
That was bonkers. Yeah. You told me specifically don't sleep on Mason Rasmussen.
And don't sleep on his speed.
I put a lovely little pillow on Mason Rasmussen and cuddled up with a bunch of blankets. That's how sleepy I was on him. And then he just dominated that game.
Yeah.
Bodie had a nice play. And then I was like, oh, here it comes. Another bunch of Bodie bombs today. And then he basically disappeared, and Mason was everywhere.
I think Bodie caught 3 passes. Two or 3?
Something like that.
He had the one big one early in the game. It wasn't a touchdown, but it was probably about a 30-yard play or so, something like that. And he made a good catch on the sideline, tiptoed, and got his feet in before he went out of bounds. And there was definitely at least one other one where he caught a hitch route for a first down late in the game when Monty was trying to milk the clock.
Yeah.
I would assume after what happened last year that Aberdeen was extremely aware of what Bodie could do.
Exactly.
And made sure that they put something in place to not let that happen again. Mm-hmm. But Mason is and only a junior, so you get another year of Mason Rasmussen here. Mason has always been like a slender, small-framed kid.
He doesn't look like it anymore.
He's not anymore.
He's 6'1", 181.
He's very strong.
Oh, my gosh.
And he ran, I can say with about 85% confidence, because I'm not positive about this, but I think he ran the second fastest 40 for the team on the testing day. So I was when I said don't sleep on Mason, I was like, the reason I said that was because, okay, well, Aberdeen watched Bodie have bombs last year. Yes. They're not going to let that happen again.
Yeah.
But there's a guy on the other side of the field, often, who has great speed, is fully capable, and no one really knows what he's capable of yet, except for people inside the organization.
Yep.
So this was the recipe for a Mason Rasmussen pop-off game.
Yep.
Because you have someone who, as a junior...
Especially since Bodie also went off against Black Hills.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you have a guy who, as a junior, the other team doesn't really know what he's all about, but he's fully physically capable of doing it.
Yep.
And then he just went out and he proved it on the field. So the first touchdown he had, that was a straight go route. There's actually, if you have the Daily World, like, online, if you don't have it, what's wrong with you? Go subscribe to the Daily World online. There's lots of really good sports coverage.
We do.
Ryan Sparks, the editor who was there taking photos, got an amazing picture of Mason, like, when the ball's about to fall in his hands.
Nice.
Jackson Wilson threw an absolute dime on a go route down the sideline. Led him perfectly so he could keep full speed going. And at that point, the only person who on the field who's going to catch Mason Rasmussen plays on his team. So when Mason has the space and the momentum, I'm sorry, but he's gone. So that was a great play.
Sorry, there's a tail hitting one side of the table and literally knocked my drink back more onto the table.
It's either a dog or a polar bear.
I look across the table diagonally and there's a head sticking out the other side on Justin's lap.
Does it look like a dog or a polar bear?
From this angle and the size of the table, I'm going to say polar bear.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Sorry. Yeah, no, that's...
So for Mason, like, he had that go route. Like, he proved, okay, I can torch you over the top.
Yep.
The 3rd and 30s play, that was a tunnel screen. That was like
even a tunnel screen?
Yeah, it was like at the line of scrimmage. They threw the ball out to the right. He had a couple of blockers over there, but there was like, you could see if I
he went to the outside, not the inside. Isn't a tunnel to the inside?
I don't know where he actually ran.
Okay.
But the idea was it's a tunnel screen.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Mason at that, like, if you looked at the picture that I took of Mason running towards me, there's 7 Bobcats in it.
Yep.
It's not like Mason caught a ball and had a free and clear 80 yards to run to the end zone.
Right.
He was so fast and not able to be tackled by hands and arms that he ran through everyone.
Yep.
And nobody took the right kind of angle that they needed. There were several players there who could have made a stop. Nobody was able to do it because of the physical ability of Mason.
It was nuts.
And he took it 80 yards to the house.
Yeah.
And he was about 10 yards into it when there was still 3 guys around him. And in my head, I went, oh, he's gone.
Yeah.
Because I mean, you know what he's capable of. Also, I coached Mason in coach pitch baseball when he was 8.
His dad brought that up to
ever
me
since
after the
then,
game last night.
I have taken credit for everything he's done athletically.
Gotcha.
So baseball all-stars, football, anything Mason does, I always say it's because I planted the seed. I taught him what he needed to know in coach pitch baseball when he was 8 years old.
Did you also know that he should probably be a Merriam Knight owl? Pretty sure he lives up here around Matlock somewhere. He's probably your neighbor, Andrew, and we don't even know it.
Where does Merriam Knight get their kids?
The woods. And apparently Monty steals them from there.
Well, that's not a new thing for Montesano.
We're off topic here, guys.
Are we? Of all the side tangents.
Mason Rasmussen, good.
Let's not get distracted.
So I wanted to
for...
spend a little bit of time talking about Mason, and I have now done that. Yes. I've gushed about Mason. I believe that not only is he going to have a very successful year, as I mentioned, he's a junior. You've got another year of Mason to enjoy.
Were you saying, I was trying to see where you were going without directly asking, but I'm not sure. Were you saying the only player on the field that could have caught him was your son?
Yes.
Okay.
Obviously.
I was actually going to ask if it was maybe Tucker Eaton because we had the conversation that given a longer distance that Tucker may be able to catch Peyton. But with the 40, so that's why I was a little confused. At first, I was like, bragging on his kid. And then I was like, or was he talking about another player? So
no, you're right. I was 100% doing that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah. We had him for 7 catches, 179 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And that wasn't enough to get player of the game. Yeah. His dad actually mentioned that to me at the end afterwards.
I think the official
Jackson Wilson.
I think the official stat line had him for 184, which is like that's spot on. Like there's always going to be a little bit of variable with stats. So
exactly, Jackson Wilson. He was 10 for 19 passing for 239 yards, 2 touchdowns. What?
249
is
on
what the
official
Daily
stats,
World. Yeah, gotcha. And which I'm always confused about because official stats, sometimes I'm like, yeah, no, that guy didn't have that touch, and they're like, no, he had this many yards. I'm like, I watched the game.
Yeah.
That was not the number of the person who made that catch. Anyway, sorry. But he also had 43 yards rushing and a touchdown.
54.
Did they take into account all the yards he had to eat for dropping on a fumble? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Ian usually doesn't miss rushing yards by 11 yards.
Okay.
Just that. I mean, I'm not saying he didn't, but Ian's usually really good.
We had this conversation in our group chat the other
Okay.
day because, so for me,
But he also had 2 interceptions defensively.
when I worked for the Daily World and I was taught by Rick Anderson and Rob Burns how to keep stats,
Right.
I was able to focus on keeping stats. I didn't have another job. I wasn't commentating. I wasn't taking pictures. I kept my own stats, and I was taught in a way that I would 100% trust my stats over any other person.
Exactly.
Including the team statistician.
Yes.
But we are now in a place where the Daily World has one guy trying to do everything, including take photos.
Yeah.
He can't keep his own stats.
Yep.
So he goes to the team and he gets the stats direct from the team. So when I say quote unquote official stats, I'm just saying like that's what the team was able to provide him.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's why I'm always like, I want to be able to think that they have those like lockdown, nailed down really good.
Yeah.
But I've seen so many stats compared with Ian's, and he's usually dead right every time.
And I'm so with you on that. Like
Yeah.
there's times where carries have been attributed to the wrong person.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I get it, and that's not a knock on any individual person who's keeping stats.
Right.
Like you guys are all doing a great job, but like some people that I've seen do a bad job.
You all are doing awesome.
not in
Let's
this-
put it
for
this
some of
way.
you.
I've been in the booth before when somebody keeping stats for one of the teams went, "Who carried that ball?"
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you have one job to do. Kitty got a little warning snip
The
from
dog
the grumpy
did not
doggy.
like that
Old
kitten.
grumpy dog
The
doesn't
old
like the
grumpy dog.
kitties.
Hey, you watch it. Don't be mean to Cucumber.
Back to this
She's my friend.
game. Back to this game. What are your thoughts about Aberdeen moving forward? Because this is how do we view both of these teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this was a show me game for Aberdeen. Okay, you've made all these improvements. Your program's back strong and healthy. You're taking on a Montesano team that personally I feel like is built enough in most of their spots to make a deep playoff run, and I'll be surprised if not disappointed that barring significant injuries, they're in the last couple of weekends of the state tournament. That's what I feel about this team because their defense is so good. Mm-hmm. But if you're Aberdeen, or if you're viewing Montesano any less than that, then I guess where you see Aberdeen. If you're viewing Montesano like that type of team, what's that mean for Aberdeen's prospects in the two-way ranks? So it's really interesting to see because this is the group of kids the last couple of years that everybody's like, this is the team that's going to go take down Tumwater. That's literally the wordage that I keep hearing is they're going to take down Tumwater. You got to beat the best team in your own county first, right?
So I would say this about, and I have a lot of thoughts
Maybe
on Aberdeen.
Tumwater will have a down year.
It's possible. They lost. Didn't they lose again? Wait, that was WF West that lost to Ridgefield. Yeah.
Which Ridgefield is just an explosion of
Ridgefield's
an
great,
area.
yeah.
That's
So-
nuts how they've grown.
So I have a lot of thoughts on Aberdeen.
They're
Real
probably
quick
gonna
on
be 4A next
on
alignment.
this particular, and there's a lot of stuff going on with realignment. Rochester's getting set to move down. Eatonville's getting set to move up. There's a lot of things that are going to be happening that the leagues are going to look different next year.
Don't like
So,
Eatonville. And Rochester, they belong in our league, so we have another team down next to I-5 that we can just beat up on. Sorry, I say our league, like Hoquiam and Monty.
Yeah. So for Monty, they're ranked currently they're currently ranked 4th in the AP poll.
Okay.
I think that might be a little high, but there's not much of an argument for them being ranked outside of 8. So the top 2 teams in 1A, in Royal and Nooksack Valley, are considered like a tier above the rest.
Oh, Hoquiam travels to Nooksack.
I'm sorry, Daniel. That's going to be a rough day.
Oh, man.
Nooksack's really good. They beat Mountain View in week 1, which is a really good team from a higher classification.
Mountain View's like a 3-4A school.
Yeah, Nooksack's going to be really good. Royal, obviously, also always really good. They're really good again this year.
Yep.
Shocker, there's an all-red playing quarterback.
Yeah.
Lakeside 9 Mile Falls is ranked 3.
Right.
They beat Linden Christian week 1.
Oh.
So, like, there are teams at the top who have really proven something significant, and then there's a big cluster of teams who people think are all really good in the 4 to 8 range.
Right.
So, Monty's in that group. Right now, according to the AP rankings, thank you for the music. I appreciate that. Sorry if that blasted anyone's ears like it did mine.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I opened a tab looking at Mountain View
that
High
happens
School.
that used to happen on the ESPN site all the time. So
Remember that video I made?
yeah,
Where it was just like the whole thing was autoplay videos?
yes, it was really funny actually.
Oh, man.
So in 1A, I mean, there's a lot of cluster. Monty's going to be one of the best teams. That's not really the point I was trying to make, but I think if you're an Aberdeen fan and you're trying to like measure how good is this team that just beat us 38-7,
Exactly.
they are considered to be, like you said, deep run into the state tournament. Like currently they're ranked 4. They'd be in the semifinals.
Right.
So this is a team that is
just demolished a team in your league.
right.
Yeah.
So I think this is a good team and you shouldn't feel bad about losing to them. There are some concerning things about the way that Aberdeen lost. Yeah. And I will throw the disclaimer out at the beginning that I am not a high school football coach. Schematically, I'm not capable of being a high school football coach. Like those guys are, they look at and watch and do football at a level that's above mine.
Right.
But I still watch it sometimes and think, why you do like this?
Why you do like you do?
I watch NFL games and think that.
If I may be blunt,
Right.
why did Aberdeen pass so much early in the game
Right.
when, like, I'll admit that the running game was a little sporadic. Like, it wasn't successful all the time, but there were successes in the run game in which establishing it could help you. Spreading the ball around to different ball carriers could help you. Marcus Hale had 1 carry.
Yeah.
I think he got 22 yards.
He's really good.
I think that, you know, if Aberdeen coaches are looking back on it, they probably think, all right, there's some things that we should have done differently there.
Right.
Your quarterback, poor Grady Springer, was under constant pressure.
Yes.
And got beaten to a pulp because not only did he get sacked several times, you know, twice by Peyton, but also by Felix Romero on a sack fumble.
Oh, my gosh.
Another time by Camden Taylor.
Dude, poor Grady on that sack fumble.
Yeah.
That's one of those where, like, from the press box, I almost pulled a U and said, get down!
Yeah. But there's
just
also
saw-
several plays where he didn't get sacked, but he got annihilated.
Yes. Well,
And, you know, Aberdeen was running that short slant thing that it worked when the linebackers blitzed and the safety didn't play it properly.
yeah.
And that's how they scored their touchdown. Like, that was a good play. Adonis Hammonds made a good play. By the way, I'm going with Hammonds, even though it says Hammond in the program.
Oh, see, I think it says Hammonds with an S on my program.
Okay, I had a program that had him as Hammond.
Yeah, there's an S on the one that I have.
Okay.
So I'm not but I'm not positive because I've also seen it both ways.
It's on his Instagram, it's Hammonds.
Oh, okay.
So
I think
I'm gonna say Adonis probably knows his last name.
I think Adonis knows his own.
He made a couple of really nice plays.
He's a good player, man.
And a sophomore, right?
Yep.
So there's some sophomores on this Aberdeen team that can do some things. Micah Schroeder, I would have liked to see him get the ball a few more times.
He's a stud too.
I think I just wondered why Aberdeen didn't try to use their big physical offensive front
Right.
and try to use some misdirection and move the ball on the ground more.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a good answer to that, but the passing mostly didn't work, and I'm not laying the blame for that on Grady Springer.
Right.
I'm saying that the way Montesano played it with their huge defensive line and a lot of blitzes and bringing a lot of pressure made it really difficult.
Generally speaking, the way a big, strong team can get to Monty is by running at them, right? And we've seen that from different levels back to 2012, right?
Are you going back to Nolan Hoynes right now?
I wasn't. And starting that sentence, I wasn't going back to it, but
you had a look in your eye.
By the time I finished it, when I said 2012,
yeah,
that's because generally it's the speed that is the driving force of Montesano's defense, right? And so if you try and go laterally, that's bad news. Why are you doing that? You're playing into their strength.
Well, the 2012 championship team for Montesano had a offensive lineman who weighed 139.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you would much rather think you run at them.
I would think so.
Yeah. That generally is the rule against Monty. Although, is it the rule this year against Monty? When you look at 3 of their best defensive players are real big dudes on the line.
Yeah.
But then also, you're Aberdeen and you have 3 guys, center guard, who almost make up 1,000 pounds between the 3 of them, if they don't make up 1,000 pounds. So isn't that your strength too? And don't you want to use your strength? So going into this game, I was hyping up that matchup. When Aberdeen was still thumping Hoquiam. I was like, oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for Cam Taylor, Tyler Johansson, and Gabe Bodwell to go up against Gibran and Paul and Big Roar. I was excited about it. And then it just seemed like they threw the ball a ton. And I was like, oh, man.
Yeah.
I wanted to see some battle in the trenches. And also, I really like seeing Aiden run the ball. So,
yeah.
You know?
And I think that also, it's possible, because I think Aiden had 14 or 15 carries.
Yeah, and he had a pretty good game. He
had
had
a good
97.
game. Yeah.
We had him for 97 yards.
It was 84 in the newspaper.
So what you're telling me is I wonder if they got that from Aberdeen's coaches. Do you know if he gets the official stats from one set and goes with them, or goes with both sets?
I would assume he gets each team's stats from their different coaches, one from one staff, one from the other.
Gotcha.
Unless you have a particularly uncooperative coach who doesn't want to communicate with you, which happens sometimes.
Yeah, that's true.
But again, 84 yards, 97 yards.
Right.
I was pretty impressed with what Aiden was able to do, because often he was just met immediately. There was a couple times where he had a good hole.
Exactly.
But often he was met immediately and still was able to make something happen. He's a good player.
Yep.
He's a good player. He's explosive. I think he impacted the game on the defensive side as well.
Yeah.
I mean, he may have saved a touchdown on the one play.
Still sore.
I would imagine so. In case you missed it, Bodie Polar getting ready to catch a touchdown pass in the front corner of the end zone, and Aiden Watkins comes up from the backside and puts a very vicious but perfectly legal football hit on him, shoulder to the back, and breaks up a touchdown, and also really hurts Bodie. I'm not saying injured, but ow.
Ow. Yeah.
And also, Aiden did something I really liked on that play, and I happened to be standing about 10 yards from where it happened. Bodie was a little slow to get up, but, he did the tough guy thing of I'm fine.
Yeah.
And then Aiden ran up behind him and patted him on the back, and he's like, hey, man, are you okay? I heard him say it.
Yeah.
Those were the words. Hey, man, are you okay? And then, Bodie's like, yeah, I'm good. And then we move on.
Yeah.
I thought it was great sportsmanship.
That's
I appreciated the fact that he did that, because he recognized, as a football player, I needed to do that in that moment, but also that probably hurt. Let me just check on this guy real quick.
Just throwing this out there, this was a player playing a frustrating game.
Yeah.
And his team was having a rough time. And instead of cheap shotting somebody when they weren't looking, he made a completely legal hit and then also went over to check on the guy. Just throwing that out there.
He didn't do the DK Metcalf.
And he's not an adult. So, you know what? I think we can expect more out of DK Metcalf. Just throwing that out there.
So when we talk about, I'm going to say quote-unquote criticisms of the Aberdeen offensive game plan, because, again, I'm going to qualify this by saying...
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
There could be a very good reason for why they did what they did, and maybe if they ran more and spread the ball out more, that wouldn't have worked either.
Yeah.
But I do know that as I was watching the game, I was thinking, why did you pass there?
Right.
I do know that as I was watching the game, I was like, okay, something good happened on the ground. Why didn't you try to continue to establish it?
Right. Now, that's not to say that they didn't find some success, because their best plays did happen to be on that little slant play. I mean, you had the touchdown. You had Micah Schroeder's big play was also on a pass over the middle.
Yeah.
So maybe it was like, hey, Monty brings their linebackers constantly. We're going to just keep dumping it over the top of them, and hopefully it busts for a big one.
Yeah. And ultimately, like I'm saying, it didn't work. So, like, it's easy for us to sit here and say, like, hey, what you did didn't work. What could you have done differently?
Monday morning quarterback.
It's
right?
Monday morning quarterback, and I'm guaranteeing you that they're having the same conversations with each other. Like, what could we have done differently to have made this better?
You know what's so interesting is how football game plans kind of, like, I just watched The Replacements again, and it kind of brings that up. Where the quicksand analogy, right? Where, like, something goes wrong, and then another thing, and then another, and the harder you fight, the faster you sink, and until you just can't breathe.
Or sometimes you score an 80-yard touchdown.
Yeah. You know what? That was not the team I was referring to was in quicksand, Justin.
Sorry,
no, because one drive does not create quicksand.
They fumbled once.
Every drive creates quicksand. Mm-hmm. And when you're in a game like that, like Aberdeen was, man, it just felt like nothing can go right. We made a big play, penalty. We missed a tackle here, touchdown. You know, it was like thing after thing after thing just kept happening. And so many times we talk about game plans going into a football game, and then due to the circumstances of what's happening on the field, you look up after the game and you're like, well, crap, I was planning on Marcus Hale running the ball 15 times today. And we got it to him once? How did that happen? Mm-hmm. You know, so that happens sometimes in a football game where you have the best laid plans going in, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in the moment making play calls of what you think is going to work best at that time. And then you look up in the fourth quarter and you're like, that's a kitten trying to knock down a TV. And that's not what you say. But you
That's a beautiful analogy.
Yeah, you look up at the end of the game and you're like, oh, crap, that's not what we were planning to do at all.
Yeah. I think also, like, when we're having this conversation. Andrew, did you have something you wanted to
just going to say that happens at the pro level. Like, there are so many times that you listen to a Monday morning interview with Pete Carroll, and he's like, yeah, so the plan was to get so-and-so, like Penny, the Rock, more, but that we just,
didn't happen.
Penalties happened, and we got away from us, and that didn't happen. The plan, you don't get a chance to implement the plan without input from the actual happening in the game. And as soon as something goes wrong, the plan isn't perfect anymore.
I think also, like, it's an important distinction to make here that last year during football season, like, one of the viral's not the right word. Like, one of the most watched segments that we ever did was talking about how sad we were for last year's Aberdeen seniors for not having the success that they were capable of.
Right.
And, you and I both felt that it felt pretty strongly that much of that was because the adults that were around them didn't help them succeed. And again, I'll say this. I said it then. I'll say it again now, so people don't understand. So people understand that I'm not just saying, "Wow, your coaches did a bad job."
Right.
I'm saying there was a lot of people around them, including administration, including a city official, who
the people who didn't get the field done on
people
time.
who didn't get the field done, and then they had 4 injuries on the practice field,
practice field. Yeah.
So I'm not. My level of expectation for last year's team was sky high, because that senior class was loaded, and it was supposed to be combined with this year's senior class.
Yeah.
So you have great seniors, you have great juniors, and apparently a polar bear, high packs.
Yep.
That's a recipe for a deep state playoff run.
Exactly.
So that was what I expected. They fell way short of the expectation.
Yeah.
So this year's team for Aberdeen, one junior who plays varsity.
Oh boy.
I want to say. So it's basically a team of seniors and sophomores.
Yeah.
So there's really good players on this team, and that this senior class has really good players on it. Like we mentioned Watkins. Watkins is excellent.
Yes.
He impacts the play on both sides of the ball. Paul Baltazar, Jabron Brooks.
Yeah, you're correct. Marcus Hale's the only junior.
Okay.
Everybody else is seniors and sophomores.
So, especially defensive anchors for Aberdeen in these two huge guys they have, Jabron Brooks and Paul Baltazar, both really talented.
Yep.
My frustration last year was elevated because of what those guys could have been combined with the seniors from last year.
Right.
So this year, while I fully believe that this team has very good high-end talent, I didn't have the same kind of elevated expectation that I had last year.
Right. Because it was two
Exactly.
really strong classes instead of one really strong class, kind of a gap, and then another strong class in sophomores, but you got to remember they're still sophomores.
And we would have hoped that Jacob Bowers would be part of this class as well, but he missed all of last season with an injury, and he's out this season as well with another knee injury.
Just brutal. I can't imagine going through 2 rehab years in a row.
No.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Gosh.
So, obviously things have not
bad.
fallen the way that we hoped they would for Aberdeen, because as much as anybody might like to think that I don't want them to succeed, I really do. I think I don't want them to succeed against Montesano, but I love it when our local teams achieve at a high level.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have an incredibly difficult task ahead of us.
Yes, we do.
Because there's one individual performance for the Spivey Athlete of the Week that is like, you would almost think it's made up. But then we also don't, all we know basically is touchdowns. We don't have all the supplementary stats that could possibly be available.
I know.
For Xander Jump from Hoquiam.
Right.
As he led his Grizzlies over the Fart Vancouver Crappers.
By the way, it's Fort Vancouver Trappers.
That's not to me, it's not. So
this is a very local show.
So there's an obvious nomination, which I will say did come in as an official nomination, but we would have made it anyway.
Right.
Is that Xander Jump, 4 rushing touchdowns, 1 passing touchdown, and a pick 6 in a 50-22 win for Hoquiam.
Yeah, and we do know a couple of his stats because the Columbian had a very brief article.
Yeah.
But all it did was list the yards of his touchdown plays.
Yeah.
So he ran for at least 106 yards.
Unless he got sacked.
That's a good point.
It's I want to say, yes, he definitely rushed for 106 yards because it seems logical.
Right. But maybe you're right. Maybe he didn't have any other positive rushes, and he got sacked for a loss of 7 yards.
That seems unlikely.
It seems very unlikely.
But it's possible.
And he also had a pick 6 as well.
So Xander Jump, obviously that's one nominee.
Yep.
We had 2 from our Montesano Aberdeen game. One of them is, again, very obvious. It's Jackson Wilson.
Yeah.
He passed for, according to the official stats from the team, which came in the Daily World, 249 yards passing and 2 touchdowns. He also rushed for 54 yards and another score, which may not be enough on its own to get up into the class of Xander Jump, but Jackson Wilson also intercepted 2 passes in the game.
Yep.
So he has that added defensive element to it.
Yep.
I also think it's not fair to put Jackson in there without also putting Mason. Because when
Ian had the same thought.
Because if you're looking at the all-around game, Jackson was great. Mm-hmm. Mason also had a very good defensive day. He had a couple of tackles that were excellent, a couple that I've got good pictures of. One, poor Grady Springer looked like his soul left his body when Mason took him down. I think
that's another play. Every time you talk about some tackles, I can't get the tackle that Patrick Walsh had on Jackson out of my head.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I've seen him do that 3 times now in 2 games.
Yeah, we didn't mention Patrick yet. I'm glad that you brought him up because he hits hard.
He hits so hard.
If you listen to the N2... By the way, if you're looking for something that's like a statewide high school football, if you're one of the crazy people who's interested in like football across the state in high school, there's a company called N2 Media who has all the socials. They do a weekly show that does predictions and stuff, and they actually had Aiden Watkins on their show last week, and he did a little interview, and he actually revealed whether, I don't know if this was good or not, but he revealed that Patrick actually got in trouble from the coaches saying, hey, you're hitting guys too hard. I don't know if also he might have been doing a thing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, Patrick hit so hard that my coaches told him you're doing that too rough.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Patrick, a lot of credit to Patrick for the physical defensive play.
Right.
So we have 2 from that Monty game between Mason and Jackson. And with Mason, he just represented so much of what Jackson did through the air.
Yeah.
And the single most impressive play of the game, I think it's fair to say, on that screen, that he took 80 yards by just being faster than everyone on the field except for Peyton. And
who's playing offensive line.
It would be funny, though, if Peyton was just like, I'm going to just prove that I'm faster and just go tackle him. Chase him down and just tackle him.
Just
his own
DK
teammate.
Metcalf style, except for his own team.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. We also have Isaac McGaffey, who had a ridiculous amount of yards on not many receptions at all.
It was 230 yards on 5 catches and 2 touchdowns. There's a disclaimer on that in the sense that Elma was losing 40-0 going into the fourth quarter, and all their touchdowns came in the fourth quarter.
Gotcha.
So I know that a lot of that happened in what we would consider garbage time.
Yeah.
But when I tell you that Isaac McGaffey is a legit athlete, like, that's no joke. Like,
Right.
the kid's really good. He's only a sophomore.
Well,
he's about 6'3".
You told me not to sleep on Mason Rasmussen.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to stay awake on the people you tell me about that now. Just
Watch Isaac McGaffey.
I will.
Because he's good. We know about Carter Studer.
Yes.
Like, we know Studer's a good quarterback. We know he's going to get touchdowns. He got 3 this week.
Yep.
Threw a couple picks in the game as well. But Isaac McGaffey, that's the name to keep in your mind, not only for this year, but the next couple years as well. I think Valerie, I don't know if it's Echeverria or Echeverria.
Yeah, I don't know either.
So I apologize for saying your name wrong. But Valerie had there was a 5-goal performance for Elma. She scored a hat trick and assisted on both of the other goals.
It's impressive.
But then as I was looking at that, I was like, okay, well, Beta Valentine scored a hat trick in their other game this week, and both of the goals that Valerie assisted were scored by Beta.
Yep.
So you can't really you can't nominate Valerie without nominating Beta as well.
Exactly.
And then rounding it out with Michael Garcia for the Grays Harbor goals.
They probably should have named her Alpha.
Beta's short for something.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't remember what it's short for, but I've seen the full name written out. But yeah, they should have named her Alpha. Except that the funny thing is, like, there's so many good, like, we mentioned Miley Seberg in passing.
Yeah.
She's really good.
Yep.
Like, Miley Seberg's going to score a hat trick at some point this season.
Yeah.
And she was like an afterthought in this particular local sports roundup.
Yeah.
Because Valerie and Beta they just dominated the week.
Yeah.
And then we didn't even mention their goalie.
Yeah, how do we not? I mean, Emmy hasn't graduated yet, right?
Right? Wait, did she graduate last year?
No, okay.
Okay, she's still good. Okay, we're good.
Okay. Thanks, Hannah.
I hate that I threw that to you so you could mention Emmy, and then you had a moment of panic where I saw the look in your eyes and you were like, oh, wait, hey.
Which is funny because when you were doing the recap and I saw that there was a shutout, I was then looking for her name in the recap and it wasn't there. And then I forgot about it.
I couldn't remember if she graduated or not.
Oh, good call. Yeah. But now we know because Hannah told us.
Thanks, Hannah.
Our silent consultant over there.
So we got a lot of really good candidates here.
Yes.
And
Well,
you know what?
where I'm going.
I will also say that there's a lot of good volleyball that happened.
Yes.
And there's a lot of good stats from volleyball.
Yep.
If we're going to name a volleyball person, player, coach, anyone, athlete of the week, I'm going to need someone to nominate someone specifically.
Yeah.
Because while I have covered volleyball and watched a lot of volleyball, I don't know the ins and outs of it well enough to know which of the stats is most impressive. So I'm going to throw this out there for anyone who is like, hey, volleyball needs to get somebody in there. I know how impressive soccer goals are, and I understand football really well.
Yeah.
If you have a volleyball player that you have watched or you know that did something really impressive, send us their stats.
Yeah.
Tell us why they deserve to be athlete of the week. We'll throw them in the nominations as well.
Just on my brief knowledge of volleyball, if I'm going to see that, I'm going to need like at least 20 kills and some aces.
Wow, you need aces?
Kills and aces.
Aces are tough.
Maybe just kills.
Aces
well,
are tough.
That one had like
I was
10
gonna
aces,
nominate Ace as a name for someone who gets a lot of kills because I figured that was like a more positive. And then I realized that Ace was already a stat. So
Yeah.
maybe I guess we're back to serial killer.
That would be a good nickname for someone involved. Like, that would have been the Jordan Spradlin nickname
Right.
in the day.
Right.
Like, that girl got a lot of kills.
Oh, I guess, yeah, you're right. 4 aces was... So, Caitlin
well, and
Broad
ace
had-
is when
yeah.
you score on a serve.
Yeah.
Like, that's tough.
That is tough. But, yeah, and then the kills. Yeah, I want to see those kills.
Kills are the coolest part of the
Yeah,
game.
you spike somebody in the face.
No offense to the liberos out there. Because I know that digs and assists are your thing, but
Yeah.
kills are the coolest part of the game.
Exactly. Do you get a dig if it bounces off your face and then your teammates recover?
Officially, yes.
Officially, you get a dig.
I mean, you should.
I
'cause
would
you
give-
positioned
did
your
that
face in
happen
the
to
right
you?
Spot.
Did it happen to me?
You said it with such confidence, like there was going to be a story accompanying it.
No, but I almost got hit in the face. I think it was the top of the head by our buddy Jake. He's good at volleyball.
Jake who?
Royer
Oh.
smoked me in the head with a volleyball once.
So Jake Royer tried to give you a concussion with a volleyball.
yeah.
Jake
Firefighter in
Gwinnett.
Ocean Shores.
Jake Gwinnett did give me a concussion in a flag football game.
Yeah.
On purpose.
I'm going to say this. It wasn't not on purpose. So I'm going to leave it there.
Yeah.
Hi, Jake. If you're, watching or whatever.
All right. I know where my nomination's going.
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid
I
to
also
let
know
my Grizzly show.
I also know
Your
where your
vote.
nomination is going.
Yeah.
Vote.
And-
your vote. Is
Yeah,
going
my
there.
vote. My vote. I know where my vote is going.
Other people are nominating.
You're right.
I also need to briefly explain something about this Aberdeen Monty matchup, because this came up in our group text with Ian,
Right.
where he was like, why do people look at this as a rivalry? Because Monty has
actually-
won
yeah.
10 in a row, and the average margin of victory is 34 points going
Yeah.
into this one. It's not a rivalry. And I agree with that. This year, I think you and I hyped it up so much because these are the two best football teams in our area.
Yes.
And so we were very excited to see what was going to happen in this matchup.
Yep.
And for me, this is going to be a little self-indulgent.
Shocker.
So
Weird.
while Monty has dominated this matchup at least since 2012, I don't know why Ian didn't go back further than that. He said Aberdeen's 10-0 since 2012.
That's when they started playing each other again.
Okay, perfect.
Because there was a long absence
When they
before
weren't in the
that
same...
where they didn't play each other.
Okay.
Right.
He's so right when he says it's not a rivalry. The problem is this group of Montesano seniors, and I'm going to apologize right now if I offend any of you. This group of Montesano seniors
Apology not accepted.
has been spending their youth and junior high and partial high school life getting their butts kicked by Aberdeen. So
As is
you don't
proper.
know that unless you're me. Like, and the self-indulgent part is like,
Yeah.
I coached those teams.
Right.
Like, I coached those grade school football teams where I was watching Kyland Halstead run for 6 touchdowns in a 6th grade game.
Oh, there's a name that I wish was still around here.
And I also acknowledge that, like, the names have changed a little bit. The
Yeah.
core is the same.
Yeah.
Some of the names have changed.
Right.
But when I asked my son after this one, I was like, hey, take out last year's football game, varsity football game. When's the last time you remember a team you were on beating Aberdeen at something? And he said, 7th grade basketball. That's it. So there's an additional amount of rivalry that has nothing to do with varsity sports.
That makes sense.
It's
Yeah.
all about the kids in these age groups who have been playing sports against each other since they were 8 years old
That's good.
or younger.
Yeah.
And the Aberdeen kids have dominated until they got to varsity football. So there's an element of rivalry that the public doesn't understand.
Right.
So while his points were all fair,
Yeah.
this game meant more to me than almost any other game that I've watched my son play in varsity football.
Because you've been watching your son play against Gibran
Yeah.
and Gibran's been huge since 6th grade.
I assume
grade.
since birth.
Yep.
Yeah. And Peyton's been small since birth.
And Peyton played tackle while Jabron was playing defensive end. And one play, Jabron landed on top of him, and I thought he was dead.
Yeah. because although there's a big size disadvantage between those two now, it was worse when they were children.
Yes.
As
Which
a
is
seventh,
crazy.
Before Peyton was allowed to lift weights.
As a 7th grader, Jabron Brooks accidentally threw me on my back.
Yeah.
Like, that happened, and he was really apologetic, and I was like, you did awesome. Good job. I'm not actually an offensive lineman.
So the reason I set that up
Yeah.
is because when we do tiebreakers, we use escalators.
Yes.
And if we used Ian's argument, which again I said is valid,
Right.
this is not a rivalry. There's no escalator involved.
Right.
There's an escalator involved for especially the seniors on this team. So when I'm like, what Xander Jump did was amazing.
Yeah.
And I wish that we had more numbers.
Right.
And also, like, I picked against them this week because I
Yeah,
know
you
Fort
did.
Vancouver's been really bad. They won their opener against Vashon Island. The reason I picked Fort Vancouver this week is because
Because you lack faith.
Vashon Island lost too?
Vashon Island lost to Fort Vancouver.
Oh, man.
in
It's just
week
a
1.
great weekend for
and
Kai.
And when I watched the highlights,
Kai's
I was
from
like,
Vashon Island. So.
Oh, okay.
So both Aberdeen and Vashon lost.
when
We
I
need to
watched
talk
the
to Kai.
highlights from that game, which I did because I'm a loser.
Right.
I watched the highlights from that game trying to form my opinion on how good Fort Vancouver was, and I was like, man, their quarterback made some really nice plays. And they beat a team that was like 8-3 the previous year. So like I went into that thinking, all right, well, I know Fort Vancouver's not amazing, but they're not going to be terrible, and I picked them to win. I was wrong.
Right.
Hoquiam was better, and so I can't even say like, oh, well, Xander Jump did all this, but he did it against a Cheeks team.
Yeah.
He went and did it against a team that just won last week.
Exactly.
So Xander's accomplishment is great. But Xander's accomplishment doesn't have escalators. And Jackson's accomplishment has the escalator of the rivalry of the monkey that he's been trying to get off his back for a long time.
Except for they got it off their back last year.
But he wasn't the starting quarterback last year.
he was the starting linebacker.
He played Rover.
Oh, would you stop differentiating between rover and linebacker?
It's
I don't
like
care
a
about your Monty
linebacker
Wade.
corner hybrid.
Rover is a
So-
linebacker.
so it's a big nickel.
DB hybrid.
It's a super big nickel because there's 2 of them.
So it's a big dime and a big nickel.
Yeah. No, and while I'm like, I can't do the thing where I diminish anyone else's. Okay, something happened.
Francis has an interesting point here. He says Justin was their coach when they were younger. Now it's Jensen. Can you spot the difference?
Like a tremendous amount of football knowledge. Yeah. Do you remember, Daniel, when the other week when you were questioning something about Coach Jensen, and I said you should just say, "Hey, Coach Jensen, you've been at this a long time and you really know what you're doing," and then just stop?
Yeah.
That's because my level of reverence for this man and his football coaching ability is through the roof.
Right.
And I was a bad I was a good coach, but I don't know football like those guys do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
There's a difference between
Fine.
being
You know what, Francis? You want to pin the grade school football losses on me? Fine. I'll wear it. But
So-
Steve Bovey's going to wear it with me.
Maybe
Francis is also nominating Jane Roloff. She won her 2nd consecutive Acosta Invite 5K. She would have been a medalist in the boys race too, placing 5th. Her time would have placed 5th in the boys race. So that's just worth mentioning.
Jane's amazing.
He's awesome.
I'm pretty. So
The chances of a cross-country runner being athlete of the week before like districts is less than 0.
It's tough.
And that's not a shot at Jane. She's awesome.
I'm pretty sure that I saw her running. I was
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw her running. Stop. Like that. Anywhere, everywhere, all the time.
I was running the chains, or I was helping run the chains at the Miller Junior High football game versus versus Hoquiam in Hoquiam, and there was a girl that was running around and around the track, and I was like, that's got to be Jane Roloff. She doesn't stop running.
It's got to be. I also want to throw out there that I know we're going to choose athlete of the week here in a second, but I neglected to mention Jeremy Sawyer last week, and I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
So Jeremy, playing for the University of Puget Sound,
I got somebody mentioned too.
Is in his freshman season.
Right.
And I know Trey Anderson's playing too. I don't have his stats or really know much about how much he's playing for Cornell College.
Right.
But Jeremy started at fullback for UPS yesterday on Saturday, scored his first collegiate touchdown, and carried the ball 8 times for 49 yards, which is a 6.1 yards per carry average. So I would just want to throw that out there. Like, Jeremy, I know you have a lot more football ahead of you to play. He's only a freshman. He's got more years to go.
That's awesome.
And I've so much confidence that he's going to be able to do some great things while he's at UPS.
Yep.
And this was just a little blip in the radar. But his first collegiate touchdown needs to be mentioned.
Absolutely. This is not this player's first collegiate goal.
Okay.
But
Football?
yeah, in football, Brooke Streeter is playing collegiately at Westminster University, which I think is in Utah.
Sounds like England.
Idaho? Crap. I used to know where it was. Now
Liverpool,
Anyway,
and now Westminster. We've got a bunch of England teams going on here.
Yeah. Let's see. Shoot, should I hold this up to the microphone so you can hear the broadcaster's call of it?
I
or
love
should-
that idea.
Okay.
And if it works out horribly, then that's just on brand for us.
Okay, that's true. So they actually have a call on
Westminster
it.
University in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake
Okay,
City,
gotcha.
England?
Yeah, if it's the Griffins. Is it the Griffins?
I'm not
It's the
sure.
Gryffindors.
Anyway, it's a pretty cool call and it's a little longer than just her goal because she actually got like shoved down from behind.
Like
right before
DK
this.
Metcalf style?
Probably.
Wow.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see if this works.
Tempted by Streeter appealing that she should get a penalty as she was
agree.
shoved, but no call given, and being urged to hustle back are the Griffins by their coaching staff. Stepping in, a nice steal once again. Squared into the middle. Here's Streeter with a little instant redemption, and it ricochets off the goalkeeper. Streeter says, I was on the floor and I wanted a penalty, but I'll score one in the course of play instead. Knocked it home off the right upper shoulder of Sophia Garino.
So
I love that call.
it was a pretty
That guy
cool
did a great
call. Yeah,
job.
the guy did a great job because she just got knocked down. She got up, kind of protested a little bit. The play kept going. One of her teammates stole it, got it right back to her, and she just owned it and knocked it in for a goal. So,
And which of our local schools did she come from?
Montesano.
Monty, okay.
Yeah. She was a Monty girls soccer player, and now,
Awesome.
now she's doing great there.
job,
Recovering.
Brooke.
This is her first season after a torn ACL.
Okay.
Too. So, bit of a comeback for her too. So, yeah, really cool. I work with her dad, so every now and then I get updates.
Love that.
Yeah.
So we have to name an athlete of the week.
Yeah. I mean, you keep saying it like there's a question.
We're gonna need a vote. Or so we have two
We
options.
are?
Here. We're gonna have two options.
We're gonna need a vote.
We have two options. We vote, or you get one and I get one.
What? Are you high?
Not currently.
Dude. So you're using, remember,
Yeah.
to start this argument, you said we use escalators as tiebreakers.
Right.
You're using escalators to get a guy into the conversation.
No, Jackson had 2 interceptions. Xander only had 1.
Yeah, Xander
2
took
is
his
twice
to the
as
house.
We have no idea how many passing yards
He
Xander
had 6 touchdowns.
Jackson had 249 yards.
Xander had 6 touchdowns.
Well, Xander was playing
seems
against the
unfair.
Crappers, and Jackson was playing against the other best team that we have in our area,
Xander had 6 touchdowns.
and in a rivalry game, which I have now established as a rivalry game. See my previous argument.
Remember you said Jackson got the monkey off his back, but then what we then heard was you and Steve got the monkeys off your backs.
Well, not Steve, because
Actually,
his son
that's
doesn't play
accurate.
football anymore. Just me. I said it was self-indulgent. I said it off the bat. Can't hold that against me. It's in the Geneva Convention.
He had 6 touchdowns.
6.
6.
That's
6 touchdowns.
So many. That's more
so
than
many
most
touchdowns.
teams get ever in a game.
Right?
6 touchdowns against a team called the Crappers is
Little did I know that when I made up that nickname, it would come.
I've weaponized it.
Come back to bite me.
yes, I've weaponized it. And like
I'm filibustering a little bit here because I sent a text to JMac asking for Xander's stat line.
okay. Good luck.
So I'm just gonna I'll be here all night. I'm just gonna filibuster.
Just keep talking.
So anyway, we have 2 options. The option is I have a vote. You have a vote. We both know what each other's votes are. So
I did not think I knew what your vote was.
you know it now.
You're
And
crazy.
so I cast the tiebreaker.
I think you're crazy because you picked someone who scored 6 touchdowns against a team whose name swirls down a toilet.
6 touchdowns.
6.
I also think it's fair to point out
It's
that
impressive to
what
score
Jackson did in Friday's game was pretty awesome.
I'm not saying it wasn't. It was awesome. He
And
was
I
player
watched
of
it
the
with
game.
my eyes.
He was player of the game.
How do I know Xander even actually scored all those touchdowns?
you
They
can
could have given the jersey to 5 different people.
If you
I
can
didn't see
score
it.
6 touchdowns against no defense at all, that's impressive.
I mean, how many? 6 times 6, man. That's how many points he scored by himself.
Gosh, I was so confused with what you were saying.
I only know how to do Monty math.
He scored
and
36 points by himself.
in Monty, we do multiplication by 7.
Justin,
So I only know what 7 times everything is. Sorry.
well, Hoquiam and Aberdeen don't usually have kickers.
Give me a
might
7,
be
though. Give me a
the
7.
douchiest
7
thing
times what?
Justin's ever
7
said.
times 10? 70.
What about 7 times 6?
42.
That one's always the tricky
42.
one, right? He scored 36 points by himself. He would have lost to Monty 38 to 36 just by himself.
Yeah, he would have lost to Monty.
Who also had Gabe Bodwell score 2 touchdowns.
What happened when Xander Jump played against the team that Jackson Wilson just throttled?
He got beat.
Yeah.
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 But he was by himself.
I didn't want to say that out loud, and you made me say it because I wasn't going to do the thing where I say something bad about Xander because he had an amazing game. But Xander Jump did not have 249 passing yards and
that
2
we
touchdowns.
know of.
I'm saying against Aberdeen.
Against Aberdeen, no,
The
he
same
did
team.
not.
The same
so
team.
you're saying that if Xander wasn't playing Jackson Wilson's position on the same team, that he wouldn't have done what Jackson Wilson did?
Run that by me again.
You're saying that if I took Jackson Wilson off
Yeah.
of the Montesano Bulldogs
Yeah.
and I put Xander Wilson on the Montesano Bulldogs,
There's a Xander Wilson.
Xander Jump. That's what you're telling me right
I know
now.
that we have a sample size of
We have-
both of these
they
quarterbacks
both
playing
play-
against Aberdeen.
and
one of them,
with different teams.
one convincingly,
They have different teams.
did the teams help Jackson get those interceptions? I don't think
Probably.
so.
And Peyton Domashevitz forced one of them.
That was Gabriel Pahala's interception, which I already took half of.
I was listening to the radio and I heard Peyton Domashevitz get an interception. So
Did I say that?
no,
okay.
Ian did, and
Okay.
he corrected himself
Right.
immediately.
Yeah.
But I was like, nope, I'm crediting Peyton.
Your argument is invalid.
Your argument's invalid.
Okay, I'm saying that Xander Jumps should be the athlete of the week.
So do we each get one, or is Andrew breaking the tie? Because I'm actually fine with either of those. Because if we do this democratically, and Andrew always sides with you, so I'm okay with.
I don't know about that.
usually the only reason why I'm arguing with you still
Yeah.
instead of just picking that option is because I'm nervous that Andrew's going to pick some rando Aberdeen person that we haven't even talked about.
So I already
And then
checked,
we'll all have an athlete of the week.
Aiden Watkins.
I already checked to see if there were any nominations
See?
from Aberdeen.
See?
But no, I agree with Daniel.
Okay.
So that we need to just each have our own then. Because
as impressive as
Jackson.
as impressive as Jackson was, Xander took he had an opportunity against a team that clearly was not up to it, but he took absolute advantage of it. And I feel like maybe a little bit of an escalator is when a team that doesn't have huge expectations has a player that performs really well. We need to recognize
it's
that.
a stupid escalator.
Ooh. I like that escalator.
Yeah, you do. As a perennial fan of teams with low expectations.
Okay.
Hold on.
on.
He's a Beaver fan. Beavers are going to win it all.
No,
Yeah,
I am.
but they
I am.
perennially have no expectations.
Andrew has broken the tie, and I am very comfortable with
Okay.
naming our athlete of the week.
And I feel bad now because I just had to we just had to argue against two kids. Like that's what you made this.
I did that?
You did that.
I did that?
You made us argue about 2 awesome performances. Now Jackson doesn't like me. He probably won't play wiffle ball with us next year.
Jackson loves.
Well, he might hit you.
Oh, yeah.
Jackson loves everyone. He will smile at you and shake your hand when he sees you because that's the kind of kid he is.
Gotcha. Well,
That just makes Daniel feel worse.
I'm gonna mention something after the show. I don't want to say it on the air, but I feel like
what did Jackson do?
no, Jackson didn't do anything. Oh shoot, that did sound weird. Jackson didn't do anything. I was gonna say that Camden Taylor also smiles at me and shakes my hand, and yet I still have this sneaking suspicion that he kind of just wants to punch me. I don't know why. Maybe it's because he's just really big and scary.
I've known Camden for a really long time.
Yeah.
Don't turn your back on him. Like, he will seem like the nicest, most docile person that you've ever met.
Camden wouldn't do it to my back. He's not DK Metcalf.
Camden will not wait till your back is turned. He's fine going face to face, but he's going to do it when no one else is around.
Oh, there you go.
Because he doesn't want to get caught.
Right. That checks out.
And once he hits you, you aren't going to catch him.
No, I'll be incapacitated. All right. So Andrew and I both vote for Xander Jump, who is our Spivey Realty Group Athlete of the Week. We are, again, so grateful for their sponsorship. We haven't mentioned them yet. They are sponsoring our Athlete of the Week. And so Xander Jump is the Spivey Realty Group Athlete of the Week. We are so excited about that sponsorship. And for Xander, I'm sorry, your high school career has now peaked.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what happens when you win the award, unless you win it again.
The only way to maintain
Xander, would you
this
like
plateau is to win again.
Xander, since you've now understood the repercussions of this, if you want to give it back, you can give the award back, and we'll just give it to Jackson.
And honorable mention goes to multiple different people.
Yeah, we got a bunch.
Jackson Wilson included.
Good
for
stuff.
And
really, Mason. I would have like ideally, if this was my own week and you weren't here,
yeah,
I would have done dual athletes of the week with Jackson and Mason.
Shocker.
Yeah. It's a good thing that you're here.
So congratulations to Xander. That brings the conclusion of our show. Again, thank you to our sponsors, the Law Office of Jeffrey A. Domashevitz and Spivey Realty Group. So, for my co-host, Justin, am I like this all the time, Domashevitz?
And my co-host, Daniel, I only root for teams with low expectations, Hargrove.
And
our trusty producer, Andrew, the tiebreaker, who got this one wrong. Gross.
Right. He got it right. Happy birthday, Deanna. You've been listening to The Scrimmage.
Congratulations, Xander.